continue right away so we do not lose any time. Now, for the previous panel, I asked everyone to come all the way to the front. What I'm going to do now is I'm asking everyone to go all the way to the middle and to scoop towards the middle. So if we have people joining us, they can do so without interrupting the whole flow of the conversation. So if you're seated on the side, I am kindly asking you to move all the way to the middle, and the same applies to this side. So anyone joining us later, they can just scoop in. For those who joined us just now, welcome. Welcome. Very glad to see your lovely faces today. And next up, we are going to talk about AI and how you will not get sued, ideally, and how to navigate music copyright in the age of AI. If you have any upcoming questions, please feel free to use the app Swapcard. You can pop in your questions, remarks, whatsoever you'd like to add to the conversation. And without further ado, I would like to introduce Jay, who's going to be hosting the next panel. Please give him a warm applause. More energy, more energy, more energy. Come on. Get these hands warm.
Hello, everyone. Thanks, Shannon.
What can we expect for the upcoming panel?
We can expect a team of experts. So we're going to ask a few questions, but let's get everybody on stage.
All
first
right,
so we can
enjoy.
Take it from there. Thanks. Yes, there's joining Lucy, Linda, Marcus, and Marco. Okay, so I'm going to do a quick introduction. My name is Jay Ahern. I am Chief Growth Officer at the Association for Electronic Music. We're a global trade body representing various businesses within electronic music. It's over 300 members across 40 countries. It includes publishers, CMOs like GEMA. We've also got labels, booking agents, Pioneer is also a member, and Beatport. So it's pretty diverse. Beatport represent. Alex is in the house. Okay, I'm going to let everybody introduce themselves, starting with Lucy.
Hello, everyone. It's not up to me, apparently. Thank you, for starters, for spending your lunchtime around copyright. That's an unusual choice, but well done. My name's Lucy Caswell. I have the title of Chief Innovation and Government Affairs Officer. It's for a trade body representing all of entertainment retail in the UK. So 300 independent record stores through to games, video, film, and all of the, we call DSPs, music streaming services as well. I also spend the rest of my 9-day week doing licensing, so acquiring and negotiating copyrights with all kinds and shapes and sizes of digital uses of music on a global basis. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Linda Stark. I'm a songwriter, and I also own a small publishing company here in Berlin. I am also part of the board of Verso, which is the Songwriters Association here in Germany. Verso stands for Vereinigung Songwriter, and I think I'm the creative in this round.
You are.
Burn. I feel it. Hi, everybody. I'm Marcus. I'm the CEO of Cyanide, and we're a Berlin-based AI company in the field of AI tagging and music search, and we specialize on the B2B music space, so basically music sync, working together with a bunch of publishers and distributors and labels worldwide to organize their catalogs and make them more searchable. So essentially, we're an AI company that elevates, that lifts like the creative power of the actual human creation and make it more visible, and sort of like are one of the defensive lines against generative AI as well.
Okay, that's it. Hello, is it working? Yes. Well, my name is Marco Erler. I'm from Hamburg. I'm a lawyer from Lausen Rechtsanwälte, representing companies from AI business and from the music business, like record labels, like aggregators, publishers, and stuff like this. And I'm advising them in the usage of copyright-protected content within the frame of AI technologies, and I've tried to use a bike today, a bicycle, and it's very warm, and I like to have the light on me. As you can see, it is warm on the stage.
You look good, Marco. Okay, so for the benefit of the audience, what we've got on stage here is we've got legal, we've got AI music analysis, we have creative, we have publishing, IP, government lobbying. So this is a pretty good panel to talk about this stuff. So I want to set a couple of parameters for sort of define the semantics of this. How many people in the room are creators or artists making music? Okay, that's a pretty good cohort. How many people are working in the music business? Okay, we can talk some deep shit today as well. This is good. Okay, great. So this is important because there's kind of been an othering of the term AI. And AI is not a catch-all for like music generative AI. It can be a lot of different things. Also in the music industry, it's very helpful in the business tools sector. So this is also an important thing. So when we're talking about AI, it's like, you know, leave the sort of yellow press tabloidism at the door. This is going to go deeper into it and how it can work. Also, I think from a creator perspective, it's also pretty fun to work with generative AI as well. Linda, do you want to tell us a little bit about that in your workflow?
Yes, I can. I was just talking to somebody before the session and they were like, you know that this is live streamed and might be taped and you have to pay attention to what you say.
You get a lawyer.
You know, like our topic is don't get sued, so I'm trying not to. But I actually like to work with AI, though I'm a songwriter. I mean, for some people that are in the industry or that work in music generally, they have this assumption or they are of the opinion that AI in general is bad and we shouldn't touch it. But I'm of the opinion that it is there and it's gonna be there in the future. So we have to find our personal way to deal with it and maybe to incorporate it into our creative work. It doesn't mean that it has to replace our creative work, but that it can be a part of our creative work. So when it comes to me, for example, I really like to alter my voice through AI systems, like for voice alterations, because I'm pitching a lot to Korea. And as you can already hear by my speech level voice, I have like a bit of a pushy, rough tone to it, which is good for Korean rap, but isn't too good for the soft R&B girly singing.
Are you using voice swap for that?
I'm using a platform called Musicfy.
Okay, cool.
But they're different, like different platforms. You drop your vocal in and it gives you a whatever vocal you like. You can like click on different vocal samples that are there. I mean, something typical for me would be Ariana Grande, because she has this soft that you want for the K-pop sound. So I am Ariana Grande-fying me quite often.
You push the Ariana Grande button.
Yeah, it brings out the Ariana in me. And then also, what I also really like to do is use ChatGPT to help me with lyric topics and with word fields. So if I'm writing about I don't know, a festival, I would probably ask ChatGPT, hey, can you give me 20 words that you associate with the word festival, and then see what comes out. And then maybe if it's too rock festival, then I would say, no, I was thinking more the festival where you wear glitter capes and unicorn hats, and then it will come up with 20 different words, and then I'm using those words in my lyrics. Like, I'm not asking for explicit lyrics, like I'm not asking, hey, can you write a text for me? But I'm kind of using it as a sparring partner, you could say.
No, it sounds good. And also, Marco, correct me if I'm wrong, it's lovely to have a lawyer on the stage. This, obviously, the way Linda's using this, she's using it as a production tool. Also, there's a human element because ChatGPT is giving her suggestions, but at the end of the day, she's doing the ultimate writing and curation. So there is a copyright in that. She owns it as a songwriter.
Well, this is a good question, but it's not clear up to now because, you know, normally in case a producer is using a software tool, then the producer is the owner of the ancillary rights or neighboring rights in this result. So it's called the production of producers' rights. But with respect to the AI result, it is a huge question, and it's not ruled by a court whether this is copyright protected content, what is the result, or whether the AI is the owner of rights, or it's to better say it, is the producer of the rights, and a machine cannot be a copyright owner. And with respect to this, it's a very, very big question whether the AI result is copyright protected. There are possibilities, and in case you want me, I can explain it a little bit more.
Yeah.
For example, in case you will ask the AI system to produce a song like Knocking on Heaven's Door in Japanese language, then the AI result is copyright protected because Bob Dylan is the owner of the melody. So you have to ask Bob Dylan. So in case the AI result contain content which is copyright protected, then it is required to ask for license. This is one thing. The other question is, what I said before, whether the user of an AI system could obtain the rights of the producer. This is a huge question. You can discuss it, and I think, yes, he is the owner of the AI result and has rights of the producer.
So Marco, that means if the producer does the prompt, and then it's pure machine output, not any sort of curatorial extraness thrown to it, then you feel there's ownership there.
No, not really.
Okay.
In case you use the prompt and you have a result, then the judges up to now has ruled that the AI result is not copyright protected, because solely the prompt is not enough to have the copyrights. With respect to the copyrights of an author. With respect to the producer, it could be different, as I said, but with respect to the author, solely the prompt is not the way to have a copyright. There was a case that a user of an AI system has used, I think, 200 or 600 prompts in order to have a result, and the judge said this is not sufficient because the result of an AI system, in each moment you use it, will have a different result. So you will not have the same results with the same prompt. And that's the reason why the judges say it's not under the control of the person using the AI system. And that's the reason why the judges rules, no, this is not a copyright protected content because of the prompts.
Yeah. Also, I think what's worth defining as well, we're in Berlin, it's in Germany, we're in the EU. So we'll look at law from that perspective, but obviously, Lucy, you're bringing in UK perspective and also international as well, because Songtrader, who you're also working for, who also own Bandcamp, are a US company.
Well, that's right. It'd be difficult to find a digital service that was geo-blocked in any way. So even if there are, where we have a conflict in so many parts of management of IP and music, is that they're under a national jurisdiction, but applied and utilised globally. Yeah, David, who's front and centre in these sort of conflations. But I think what we have here in the UK, in my UK, in terms of songwriting copyright, is that copyright is attributable only when there is a human author. It also says that only a human can have originality and creativity. You know, I think that's a whole other panel debate as technology progresses. But in terms of ownership, I think that's really relevant in the distinction that was just made there. If it is solely the prompt that is used, in other words, the output is entirely and exclusively machine generated, then currently UK law, still differently to other jurisdictions, doesn't quite capture computer generated work. However, most creators that I certainly work with use various tools to create a composition. And in the same way as it was once said, oh, you can't use a drum machine, that's not proper musicianship. All of these evolutions open the door to music making to more people. People who are wired differently to use different tools in different ways, harmonise them together, take a little piece of this, use it in the way they want, add something else. And there are so many of these tools, as you described, that are used for a part of your composition. And if you are the human author of the resulting composition, then you have some copyright, certainly in UK terms. But what was also mentioned then, as is the case with any kind of tools used to use music making, is it yours? Did you use something that was owned by someone else in some way, in some part?
Did you know?
Or a bigger degree? And did you know? And also to the flip side of that, and the importance of letting everyone else know which bits you own. So the return comes that way when somebody wants to use a piece of your work. I'm going to have to get the metadata word in early, but I'll leave it there for now. So none of it really changes the normal structures of if you use tools to create something, you are the author and composer, right? If you are the human element of that. But if to any degree you use someone else's stuff, then they retain that copyright to that degree. And if you didn't use a human at all, then you don't get afforded copyright.
And you also don't know what the output was if you don't have a massed or a sort of massive knowledge of music. Like Gen AI output of something could give you a piece of music that you are really feeling, you incorporate it, and then all of a sudden you find out it was a piece of another song that you weren't aware of as well. That can also present issues. I think that's why we look at MRT as well as valuable in that.
I think so, and what we'll go on to talk to more, and what was touched on here is there's never been anything wrong with a hive mind. You know, everyone has inspiration for music. With Sync, you know, want it to sound and feel a certain way, and how do I find that? And technology gives sort of multiple of the ways that someone on their own would be able to do that, and there's nothing wrong with doing that. But there are two questions: who owns the resulting parts of that output, and who owns the content that enabled that software to be created in the first place? But that's probably another section of the conversation.
Exactly. No, that's good. So I am, just to say it here because of a couple of things. Copyright, we're talking about mechanicals and publishing, or sort of copyright in there. There's a copyright within the recording itself, the recorded music, and then also the publishing, the intellectual property of the work. Whenever you're training on something, a piece of music, it's a recording. There's also musical work in there, so there's two sides to it in terms of that. Now, metadata. I look at you, Marcus, because metadata is such a big part, and I hear so many conversations that go on, particularly in the electronic music world, and I'm sorry to whine about it, but it's like, oh, artists don't want to fill this out, they're creatives, they don't think about doing metadata, blah, 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 blah. I agree. If you want to go out and you want to create music, and it's just about the creation process, fine, do your thing. But if you want to make a career out of it, there are certain things that you need to do. It's kind of like taxes or banking, as Lucy and I talked about last night. You got to do metadata. But Marcus, you're actually also making it easy on people because you're extracting from the audio.
First of all, great to be compared to taxes. Thanks for that.
No, it's my pleasure.
No, but you're absolutely right. It's like the ugly little sister of the creation process, and sometimes it's heartbreaking. You know, somebody is working on their first record for like 2-3 years, producing it, pouring their blood, sweat, and tears, their entire heart in it. And then, like, they're not getting any exposure because they upload that to DSPs, and instead of like Americana, they put country folk as a tag there, and that's sometimes all it takes to like not appeal to the algorithms. And you know, I watched an interview with Yuval Harari the other day, and he's like, what he's breaking it down is like, we're making content for the algorithm, not for the human, and that's kind of sad, but it is that way. And we're helping a lot of DIY artists, 150,000 in fact worldwide, to get this metadata, to get accurate metadata that they can then take off our platform. Like, by the way, like how it works is like you just upload your audio file to the platform and it spits out the metadata right away. It generates the metadata from scratch, and then you can just like copy paste that, put that in your Spotify for Artists or wherever you want to distribute your music, and then you're good to go.
Exactly, but also I think that touches on AI as a business tool, and that, you know, this is, we were talking about AI, it's like Gen AI, it makes music, it makes this. I mean, I actually came to it, like in my past I worked with generative AI teams for music creation, but we were looking for a royalty-free component, and we actually trained on, we had our shit tight. But with what you're doing, obviously, you are sort of directing traffic in a way that the creator is actually going to have proper metadata. They're going to have tagging that the companies that are working with it sort of down the line, be it Sync or their distributor or what have you, will have that. So that touches into actually getting paid, which I think is important. But Cyanide has to train on stuff. And that's tricky because for me, I'm going to call it right now, it's like, okay, if you're going to train on music to create more music, I understand compensation for the training data. I also understand it for music analysis to a certain degree, but why aren't there different rules? I mean, like, I think I can share that. Like, you got takedown letters from the companies that send takedown letters regarding your. How do you want to frame that?
Not like takedown letters, like to just frame it, in the right way. Is that in the European Union we have, or in Germany to be precise, we have paragraph 44b of the German Copyright Act, which essentially, under a couple of circumstances, to be 100% precise, refer to Marco or like read it up. But it just allows you under a couple of in a certain framework to use copyright protected. Works to train AI, right? And what a lot of companies, somebody from the GEMA here, it's like, did is they declared an opt-out out of, like, you can declare an opt-out as if you have the rights to do so, if you're either the rights holder or you have the respective right, or you got the respective rights from the rights owner. To do so, you can opt out of this 44B and say, like, my works, my song that I created, you're not allowed, and no one is allowed to use that work without a proper license. And so they just kind of like spray and pray, sent these letters to all of AI, every AI company, declaring their opt-out, kind of to, I think, to kind of make a precedency where you could, which you could use maybe in a court at some point.
I think spray and pray was great when you said that, because they were just like, okay, you do AI, everybody stop.
Right.
Yeah.
And I mean, we have a lot of friends and we know a lot of people at GEMA, so we just like called them up and like, hey, what the fuck? Like, what do you do here? And it's actually like, the targets are obviously other AI companies, but like, for the off chance that we might move, like no one knows that, right? I mean, we know that we won't, but for the off chance that we're going to move into generative AI, so that we have sort of the same opt-out like everybody else. But upon calling them, actually, they did tell me that our company, or like company of our likes, are a little bit excluded from the direct focus, but we still got it. And I think what they're trying to build up is some sort of like split system or a multifaceted system of licensing, because like it is very clear that we are favoring the music industry. Like, we're the incumbent music industry.
Plus CMOs are investing in tech too to fix problems. I mean, CMOs like GEMA, everybody know what a CMO is? Kind of? Yeah, okay, collection society, whatever. They're investing in tech for these reasons, so.
Right, yeah. And I mean, they have a lot of collaboration, and there are so many examples of AI for good in the music industry. Like if you're looking at stem splitting, or if you're looking at, sophisticated search algorithms, anything that kind of drives the music industry forward and drives consumption and drives discovery, that's per se, that's a good thing. Yeah, full stop.
Yeah, no, that's okay. So I want to get Linda back in this conversation, but I'm going to do it with Marco, actually. So I think I can say you were involved. Paradise AI Kitchen. We can talk about that?
We can talk about that.
Yeah, good.
Maybe in the first stage, we should explain the different legal basis for making an AI training, maybe. A few words with respect to it. So, as Marcus said, there is maybe a legal base called 44B in the German Copyright Act, but it is not clear up to now whether this will be sufficient for AI training. This is for text and data mining. This is the wording of these legal clause, and up to now it's not clear whether text and data mining covers AI training, because when the legislator has made the law, there was not really AI, and nobody has an idea about generative AI. The legislator said, well, okay, maybe AI is covered, but generative AI, he has no idea about generative AI. So at the moment, we have two opinions. Opinion one is, it is covered by text and data mining. This is 44B. And the other opinion, for example, from the initiative copyright law, said no, it's not covered. You have to review each kind of AI system whether this is part of the text and data mining. So nobody knows whether in the end the Supreme Courts would judge that it is covered by text and data mining and it is the legal base. In case it's not the legal base, then you have to license the right of reproduction, because the right of reproduction is required for AI training. In case it is justified by 44B, then the author has the right, as you said, to opt out and say, no, I'm not interested that my copyright protected content will be used for text and data mining, brackets, AI training. So that's the legal system.
And also there's a moral rights piece in that too, in terms of the opt-out.
Yes, you have to. Sorry, you have to monitor the personal rights. So, in case you will use copyright protected stuff, for example, for advertising, you have to ask the owner. But in the end, it's the question whether you will recognize the content in the AI result. With respect to AI training, in case you use it as it is, not like an adaptation or a modification, it's not a problem with personal rights. But in case you start, for example, use it in another way, another modification, also it could be personal rights affected, but this is more for the AI result, in case it's recognized in the AI result.
And that's interesting too. I mean, moral rights too are specific to Germany, EU, but not all countries.
Well, in the EU or in other countries, you can have the same discussion with fair use principle.
Okay.
More or less.
Interesting. Linda, how do you feel about your music being used for training? If you're compensated.
Yeah, I think it's a difficult question, because I think if the compensation would be easy, I would probably say yes, no problem. But as we look at it now, it seems to be not so easy. And that's what kind of makes it problematic for me. On the other hand, I think every songwriter can listen to my music every day on the streaming platforms, and they are going to steal from me anyway. Yeah. Like, I am also getting inspired by the music I hear.
That's human stealing. I guess it's legal in a way.
Yeah. Everybody else is stealing from me, but I'm getting inspired. But yeah, I also, I'm of the opinion that up to a certain point, you can only come up with stuff that you have heard at some point in your life. Like, your brain can only invent what you have learned at some point. This is why I'm writing pop music, because I grew up with the radio. And yeah, so I think it's, if machines learn from me, it would be great if I get paid for it, as well as if it would be great if I get paid for when other writers get inspired by my stuff. But luckily, GEMA, as one of the first, if not the first CMO, has made a little push in the direction of compensation of rights like that. So that's a little yay, and we'll see how that moves forward. So, yeah, but I also, I had to already sign a contract as a producer, like on the master side of things, where I had to sign that I'm waiving off the AI training, because the label wanted to secure the rights for the AI training just in case.
Yeah. And we have now the court case GEMA against OpenAI.
Just
started
news
today.
This morning, Marcus was texting me. Yeah. That's. I'm going to grab Lucian, but let's go back there, okay? Because that's kind of an interesting. In terms of this cycle of compensation, so do we think? And you can call bullshit on this, or you can actually say, CMOs. How do you feel about CMOs being involved in that loop in terms of like these inputs and outputs of Gen AI music, and they are defining the splits. They're defining, are they in the best place to do this? Do you feel from your perspective, or what's the feeling in the UK?
There are so many conversations there. I mean, starting with what's inspiration and what's plagiarism is
That's good.
Debate. Sometimes it's clearer than others. And I think that's the problem with technology done at speed and at scale and at a micro level, is that clarity. Who manages any outcome is kind of the second conversation, because to the points made earlier, in the UK, we're looking at these other jurisdictions and what they have legislated for. We're looking at the EU Act and actually now how it's having to evolve, because typically you give people technology, they don't quite use it in the way that you thought they would.
100%.
And it does other things as well. So we're in an evolutionary space in the technology. So our position is, don't regulate for obsolescence, because you're not really seeing the many, many use cases and outcomes of what very, very similar technology will do. And to your point, there is a starting point, a division of, we're going to need technology to keep up with scale, volume, accuracy, efficiency, opportunity, especially on a globalized scale, which we heard about earlier. CMOs are positioned to be able to manage a lot of data on a global scale, particularly on the many facets of songwrites, for example. If you have a machine that manages similar data, why would you not use that machine for the new purpose of that data? So I don't think there's a who should have it and who shouldn't conversation. I think it comes down to how efficient is that system and what are they managing? Because everything in the music industry, to a large point, and licensing terms, obviously there are national and statutory licenses, but in a large degree, it's done by contract. And the letters that were sent by some of the rights holders didn't just say, never use my stuff. It said, never use my stuff without my permission and a nice chunk of change. So it's, let's negotiate what that new use is for. So the industry is establishing that there is a new use case here. There is a copyright. There is a copy in some cases, not always, but where there is, that's already covered. Do a license for it. Where I've done licenses for prototyping, so just training, we do fall into that, is it science and research, which is currently allowed, or is it commercial, which would be requiring of a license? There's also the temperature in the room of the music industry that says, no, I don't care. You have to come and talk to me if it's my stuff that's going to make you something good to use. I think there will be different stages of licensing, that prototyping, then a sandbox, and then a commercial exploitation, really just for the basic fact that different music is used at different stages in different ways. But we first have to define the practice before we get to managing what data is used and outcomes of that.
I think that's a very eloquent answer, actually. But it's true. I mean, Marcus, from your perspective in terms of your business, that's probably also music to your ears, something that you experience. And there should be different levels in terms of, like Lucy just said, sandbox, prototyping, or full-on commercial use in terms of allowing you to train.
Right. I mean, you just elaborated also on the fact that for R&D purposes or research purposes, of course, there's like, fair use directives in also like in America and the Copyright Act. But yeah, I mean, like, again, like kind of coming back to the fact, I think if you favor the music industry and like how it is today, like it's first of all, it's easier to obtain the license. I mean, matter of fact, for us, like we've been around for like 6 years now. So back in the days, it was much easier to obtain a license from rights holders, just on the fact that we will help them obtain their business goals easier, right? So we literally got that for free, like, you know, and that was a long time ago, and it was very specific to us, which is great because we're 100% compliant literally from the get-go, and we didn't even have to rely on 44B of the German Copyright Act. But people are getting more, like people, especially bigger rights holders, are getting savvier, right? They're getting more educated about the topic, they're getting more educated about the value, sometimes maybe even overestimating the value of their content plus metadata for training. So there's a little bit of a, weirdly, it's becoming harder.
Well, they're trying it on to see what they can get away with, too.
What's that?
They're trying it on to see what they can get away with.
Glad you said that, not me.
So what?
Glad you said that. No.
It's a business negotiation. Sorry, Marcus, go for it.
No, it is kind of strange that it got, like, instead of getting clearer from a legal perspective, it seems to be getting more and more complicated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so also just to kind of, I'm going to take the tech position for a second. I mean, I come from rights holder background, etc. But okay, so I just, you know, you're doing good. It's a good product. You're trying to get metadata sorted, you're trying to get creators paid, you're trying to get music noticed, and you are domiciled here in Germany, you're dealing with laws, which Marcus is explained and can explain further on things, but you've got competitors in different countries where they don't have the same restrictions. Somebody in Singapore, for instance, Japan, the US under Trump, that's going to be a fucking nightmare, but anyway, things will change. So how do you feel competing domestically with global products? Do you feel that is there a stifling of innovation in this respect?
It's kind of, it feels very strange, but like the European Union, and believe me if I say that, they're very liberal on AI directives when it comes to like this text and data mining. Like you do not, otherwise you wouldn't have the RA Suno and Udio lawsuit. Like if they had something like the 44B, but they don't. It's a little bit more blurred there. So all of this and like the ongoing conversation actually like it is in our favor because it keeps the competitive landscape kind of small, because the entry hurdles are humongous to just get data to train on legally. And then also if you release something and you don't have customers and you release something now, like people will immediately look at you and like, all right, yeah. What did you take, like, for your training data, and like, knock on your door. That's why, like, we've seen a lot of companies also in the field now using ChatGPT, but obviously, like, that is maybe a little bit of a bumpy road.
Just to unpack that for a second. So basically, in their products, in their back end, they're leveraging ChatGPT.
Yes, exactly.
Which obviously exposes them business-wise for trouble. It's not their own IP.
And I mean, rightfully so. A lot of players in the music industry, specifically the majors, are shying away from any company that uses ChatGPT because, I mean, I don't know if anybody works for any major, but like if you're trying to type in ChatGPT on your browser, probably you're getting flagged somewhere as like, oh, this person is trying to like get it. Like you basically can't use it from a company computer if you work at the majors. Actually, I'm not sure with Warner, but I'm sure with Sony and with Universal. Anyways, if anybody here from Warner? No, none. We're not going to point you out, don't worry.
The room.
Yeah, so you cannot even use it. So like if they are working with the company, working with ChatGPT, or like on top of ChatGPT, that basically is a Trojan horse for them. Like, they open AI in the back door. So that does work in our favor.
So kind of this. So what I'm getting from your conversation, one, you don't feel stifled by sort of competing commercially, being domiciled in Germany. You like some bits of the EU. I think we all do in that way. And the other thing is build your own shit. Don't leverage other products. Okay, that's cool. Something I want to talk about, because that was nice that you said that about Germany, because also I thought was interesting from German news, as it were, is that Paradise, which is an aggregator based here in Berlin, came up with the first sort of legal Gen AI track, as they called it. And it featured Hefbefehl and a number of artists who were in this. Everything was cleared in terms of the training data. And also, Linda, which might be interesting, is that the artists can leverage, if I get this right, their AI kitchen product to actually make, to prompt and make music as well. And all of this is legit. All of this was done also under the jurisdiction of Germany. So they probably jumped through some hoops. Marco, you were involved with that.
Well, yes, but honestly, as I am a lawyer, I'm not allowed to tell.
I understand. I'm putting you on the spot.
Secrets, but yes, in case you have the idea to make an AI system in Germany and to make generative AI in Germany, the first idea is how to deal with the rights, and you need the rights from your licensors in order to make this business, because you have two possibilities. The first thing is 4040B. And you say, okay, the law allows me to use it, or you say, no, in order to be safe, I ask for the rights. This is the first question, which is required. And as you are interested to have a good relation to your licensors, and with respect to this, you're thinking about licensing of rights. So it's the first stage. What else you interested?
No, that's good. And also, sorry to put you on the spot, but also it's kind of fun to do it. But I think really what we're talking about here is this can be done. There is a path forward for legal, generative, ethical Gen AI for music. And I felt when I read about what Paradise has done, I was like, okay, there's a use case. And we did it in Germany. Wow.
Yes, but what is the question?
I think the question is in that despite the layers of domestic legal issues, or despite the laws, despite people trying it on with training data, despite that there are paths forward to actually make this happen, then it can be done. I know that you were in the driver's seat on that. You can't talk about certain stuff, but the product got out. I think that my question was more, are there paths forward? I think you answered that. Yes, there are paths forward.
Maybe.
Maybe. That is a beautiful lawyer answer, actually, to tell you the truth. So that's good. So I think we got some time where we can do some questions. And should we take those from the audience? Is there anybody running around with a microphone? Oh, you got one. Okay, here, you can use mine.
I would like to pick it up from Linda, because I happen to be the most famous AI voice. I was lending my voice to the first Siri of Apple, and I also worked for our professional organization, Verband Deutscher Sprecher, I can't translate this now, on the regulations alongside this for the future, because I was from the very first generation, a similar situation, because nothing was regulated. Many colleagues of mine faced like chaotic contracts. They were experiencing global enterprises playing over the circuit with offering an Italian speaker a Polish contract so that he wouldn't be able to sue there and so on. And now we have the situation that we only have 5 and only US big companies offering AI voices for the whole, all languages in the world. Yeah, I mean, China has many patents, but the running operating systems come from Silicon Valley, and try to negotiate with one of them. Yeah, I mean, OpenAI had used Scarlett Johansson's voice without paying her. She has the money to sue against them, but do this as a mediocre whatsoever artist. So the problem is that obviously there in the US they have like this exploitive mentality, and we don't get behind it, we can't cope with it. Me, myself, I had these negotiations with one of the 5 companies in the US, the voice director, the global voice director residing in Cairo. Okay, Teams, no problem. And then we have worked on frame conditions for my profession, numbering for which time usage whatsoever, what amount, how to compensate that you lose your existency, you know? I mean, this speaker, for example, he must be paid so well because he won't be able to work anymore. In his lifetime, he learned something, he put time, study, and money into it, and it's devaluated. That's a really, I think, the big political scandal is that we talk so much about climate Nachhaltigkeit. What's Nachhaltigkeit in English? I don't know. Oh yeah, thank you. But not about social sustainability. Where is that? I know so many graphic designers, photographers and so on who can't live from their job anymore. It's the truth, and it's happening right now. And so that's, I mean, I'm a little bit scared about it, and I think there needs to be compensation, just similarly to when the GEMA was introduced, because musicians didn't want to have their music played just without being paid. and that's yeah. Anyway, I'm getting too long.
Maybe to just shortly add to that, it was just for the telephone hotline. I mean, of course, the voice is out there now, but the contract regulations are just the telephone hotline. So hopefully he will get other jobs. He negotiated the contract very well. That's I think that's also why I came up with why I brought up the example now. But also where I think where it's difficult with regulations is the example that I mentioned right at the beginning, where I was saying I'm altering my voice through an online platform. I'm just uploading my voice like it's nothing, and I'm downloading the altered thing, but I've never read the terms and conditions on this website, where maybe somewhere in the back end on page 10 it says, hey, and by the way, we're using your voice that you upload to train the further voices that come up. So maybe at some point, because I have uploaded some of my voice samples, maybe there is already a Linda 2.0 somewhere on the web. I don't know.
Yes, I mean, the speaker might have been following our frame conditions that we developed over years. It was hard to convince a German Vorstand of a professional organization from something like that. But we have regulations. You can read it everywhere in the net, what he receives, how much money. The point is, this is a German company. They have lawyers behind them, and they can protect this speaker. But like I said, the traceability, once you deal with a US company, for example, that woman with whom I negotiated, she had also heard about the German frame conditions, but their company wasn't really willing to, how do you say, to durchsetzen, enforce, thank you. Yeah, that's the problem. So we were trying over years. We have solidified, we have been gathering with from other countries, like 40 institutions, and we're also part of the Initiative Urheberrecht meanwhile, and it needs more like this.
Thank you for sharing. We need to quit it now. Okay, so we need to close the curtain on this, so I'd like to thank all of you for participating today. This was really, really fun. We're going to be around, so these wonderful people will be here too that you can ask questions. Marco, Marcus, Linda, Lucy. Thank you. Vielen Dank.
Thank you, Jay, very, very much. Thanks a lot to all of your panelists. And once again, if you have any remaining questions, pop them in the Swap app. If you want to stick around for the next conversation, stay comfortable. Otherwise, we're going to get changed and continue in a few minutes.